Welcome to another busy webinar. Sorry for the slightly late start. We had an issue with Google Hangouts here today, so we've got that all figured out. And now we're ready to begin rolling. We're going to talk about make your website work for you, how to build a system for conversion using the most powerful tool you have at your fingertips for marketing, and that is your website. So we're going to talk through a bunch of things today. I'm going to get through an agenda, of course, and we're going to talk about a few things that you can do during the event to ask us questions. So if you do have those questions, I'll share with you momentarily how to make that work. First, what you're probably going to see is that you're going to want to click on the window right below you in order to, or right below this video, in order to ask questions via Twitter. I'm going to switch back and forth a few times, and due to the technical challenges that we've got right now, I'm not able to switch that to give you an example of what that looks like. But if you would like the slides from today's presentation, or if you have specific questions during or after the event today, you're welcome to send those to me at dave@BizzyWeb.com. Or if you have other issues and you'd like help, we have operators standing by at 612-424-9990. Just ask for Jenna. She is our technology assistant today, so say hello to Jenna. Thanks again for joining us, and let's get into the details of our presentation. First, wanted to go a little bit through who BizzyWeb is and why we're good to listen to on this event. So BizzyWeb is a digital marketing agency. We're located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we have lots and lots of clients who do websites or who we've done websites for. Those have included the Minnesota Beef Council, Prince, of course, speakers and construction agencies. Regardless of what you need with your website, BizzyWeb can help you. And some of the tenets that I'm going to talk through today are included in every conversation that we have with our clients to make sure that they're getting the results that they're looking for with their websites. So that's why we're here. Now let's get through what we're going to talk about. First, we're going to go through some basics. We're going to go through goals, how to build a lead funnel with your website, how to convert visitors into customers, and then how to measure to make sure that everything is doing what you expect it to do. After that, we're going to get into some next steps, including optimizing for traffic and findability, and then imagery and usability issues. So how to make sure that your website looks great in order to continue to convert. This is going to be a multi-part and multi-goal conversation today. So if you do have questions about specific things, again, the best way is going to be to just send me an email at dave@BizzyWeb.com, or to use the hashtag BizzyWebinar. That's #BizzyWebinar on Twitter. And we do have operators standing by to help you with those questions. And if you're having any issues, one minor programming note: since Google Hangouts seems to be acting funky today, things may pause or stutter a little bit. Normally when that happens, we find that the recording is fine, but there's issues with the browser that you're probably using. So you might have a bandwidth issue. The streaming might have paused or slowed down as it was encoding. And the case to fix that, or the way to fix that, is simply to scroll backwards a little bit. And it doesn't keep you live that way, but what it does is it just scrolls back and lets the encoder catch up. At the very worst case scenario, just go back to the event after everything's done, and it'll be a standard YouTube video. And so that's probably the easiest way to get you. So now that we've gotten through the agenda, let's get into those details on website basics. The first thing that we want to talk about and have you understand is that you need to have a goal when you're going to build your website. You need to understand what success really means for you and for your business. Is it that you need to get more sales? Usually that's a big thing. If you're a nonprofit, maybe it's donations, but you may need to break it down into something a little bit more goal-oriented or a little bit more task-resulted than just make money. So what you need to think about are the component parts of what making money means for your business. It's probably getting more leads in your sales funnel so that your sales team can interact with those folks. It might also be building or getting more people in the door so that they can experience your physical location, get to know your people, and get comfortable with your services. It might be increasing the amount of referrals that you get via your website or via the content that you're doing. So having that specific success goal is going to be instrumental in guiding your decisions. Also think about what steps a visitor needs to take to get to the specific goal that you have in mind. So if you're trying to generate sales, the component steps of that are that they need to find out about your business. They need to register some sort of interest. And then ideally, you can have your website warm up that lead a little bit more by sending them additional information or opportunities, letting them research your products or services, and getting them to some physical, measurable next step, trying to elicit a physical response so that you know who that person is and you know what they're interested in. And that will let your sales team reach out proactively to that person to connect with them on what matters to that client. Your website absolutely is not about you. We run into this all the time with our clients. They get all excited about their website and they say, we want to say how many years we've been in business or all the things that we have to offer and give everything to everyone at the very first page. And I want a picture of my dog on the website. And I'm over dramatizing a little bit here, but not close or not too far from the truth. Your website is about what your visitors need. If you sell drill bits, what you really sell is holes. So you need to focus on the whole, on what that end product is and what your client is going to be looking for if they're going to reach you for that. So focus on what the next step is, what you actually tangibly deliver, and what a client is going to be searching for in order to find you for that goal or for that specific need. So if you are a construction company, you might be focusing on what the costs are of building or creating a building, or maybe it's specs or designs or code issues, getting people to that next step. If they're starting to do research for you, your product, and your service, what are the likely keywords that they're going to be typing into Google or Facebook or whatever in order to find more information about what you do? If you can answer those questions and provide answers to that information that your customer is looking for, and then give them a clear next step to take when they're moving forward, that's going to help out a bunch. Next, after you've defined your goal, you're going to want to build that lead funnel. There's all kinds of ways that people can get to connect with you, but think about all of those, whether it's email, phones, search engines, social media referrals, or simply walking by your business. Think about the ways that your customer can find you and deliver connections in ways that'll help them to connect with you and to take the next step, regardless of where they find you. So you have to make a map of all of the places that you are and all of the places that your customers might find you, and then guide those people to landing pages for each of those goals. So if they are someone that's found you on Facebook, you want to link to specific posts that have a call to action that relates to what that Facebook post was about. If they're searching for you on search engines, each of your keywords, each of your main keywords that people type should have some sort of a tangible landing page to guide people to the next step depending on what they are. And if you're a house painter, for example, choosing paint colors or having, the 3 steps to improve your curb appeal with paint, depending on what people are clicking on and what the context of those clicks are, is going to drive what the next action is. Directing customers from that landing page to the next step, which we'll talk about in a second, is important for keeping that content, for keeping that lead flow moving forward. It needs to be painfully and incredibly clear that this is what we expect you to do next. How and why is very important. And then creating follow-up plans via customer relationship management tools, email, social media, to continue to reach out to your customer after they've taken the first step and notified you that they're interested in your services is important. What you can do with a great website is have that website auto-populate content and details into your customer relationship management database, whether that's Salesforce, Zoho CRM, Sugar, whatever. There are ways to have that fill your content. It might be as simple as a web form where you ask people to fill out a quick form to say, I'm interested in your product or service, and then have someone on your sales team get back to them. You need to have a defined process, though, to make sure that you don't lose contacts in the mix. Email can be set up such that when people subscribe to your newsletter, they get a series of 3 emails. One, thanking them for joining and offering some of the greatest hits on your website. 2, a reminder of what they've got or what you have available to them. And 3, after a purchase, thanking them for that purchase and giving them other steps that they can take to keep doing business with you. So think about all of the stages in your life cycle with a customer and try to have some sort of a post, a content piece, some sort of direct outreach, depending on what that customer needs, has, and does. From there, you're going to be converting your visitors into customers, of course. And so having clear calls to action, one per page, is going to be incredibly important in making sure that people find what they're looking for. You have to really think about what people are doing when they're perusing your website. There's a good chance, actually more often than not, people are finding your website on a mobile device now. So if you don't have a mobile responsive website, and I'll talk about mobile responsive in a second, you're missing out on approximately half of the traffic on your website and half of the searches as well. But having a clear call to action, one thing per page, is going to be essential to making sure that people actually take the next step. It's called paralysis by analysis. If people have too many choices on any given page, they're much more likely to simply give up and not take any step at all. This is especially apparent in emails when you send out messages to clients. We've found through our research and work with our clients in email marketing and other newsletters and templates that if you have one call to action on a given message, the likelihood that people are going to take that next step is pretty decent. If you have 2, it gets a little fuzzy. 3, it gets even worse. But once you get over 4 calls to action on a website or clicks, the likelihood that any step will be taken goes down to almost 0. And note that I'm not outlining or saying that you can't have other navigation on your web pages, but in the main content of any given page on your website, and especially as we're talking about landing pages specifically guided around content on your website, you need to make that one thing that you want people to do very, very clear and concise. So ideally, if someone searches for your product or service, they click on that page that they found in the search engine, it goes to a page that's directly related to the physical thing that they're searching for. So instead of just taking you to the home page of the website, it takes you to the page that specifically talks about that product or service. From that product or service page, there's a single action that you're asking them to do, ideally above the fold or the first screen that they see when they visit the page without scrolling, without changing the size. And that one click will give them either an enticement to download some sort of a product, to check out more information, to fill out a form, to have someone connect with you, or whatever. But if you give them lots of calls to action on a page, they're much less likely to do things. And that's why directing content to the home page of your website often isn't that effective. And your home page should have one clear thing that you're asking people to do on it as well. So above the fold, focus on one thing that you want people to do when they visit that website. Is it research? Is it check out our testimonials? Is it subscribe to our newsletter so that we can keep up with you and let you know about new offers and deals and specials? Or is it something else? It might just be watching a video that introduces people to your product, to your service, or to your company. From there, using buttons and graphics to make sure that call to action is prominent is pretty important as well. Having a text-based call to action or simply a link on a page, especially if your website isn't really designed to make those links stand out, is going to be very helpful in making sure people actually take that step. In blue here, you actually have the big blue My Offer button. That's a great example of a distinguished or a distinctive call to action. Keeping the questions on your forms to a minimum can help you get that call to action or that additional next step as clear and simple as possible. One thing that we've seen before on our client click-through rates, if we have a form that asks for name, phone number, email address, company, and 1 or 2 questions about a company, that's much less likely to get a desired response or subscription to a newsletter than simply enter your first, last name, and your email. So having those 4 boxes to fill in, first name, last name, or the 3, I guess, first name, last name, and email, is about the best way to get people to subscribe to your content. From there, you can send them a follow-up and send them a quick note saying, hey, in order to make sure that we're serving your needs best, what types of information are you most interested in? That's a great use of an auto response message or an auto response next page. So making sure that you're connecting and being very clear. You can let some of your automated marketing do more of the work. The goal with your website is to clear the clutter, because you have to think about how people are experiencing your site. We all live in a very distracting world. Your clients, your new prospect might be looking at your website because they heard about it from a friend at a cocktail party. And so they're at that party having a brief conversation, have their phone in one hand, and they're talking to someone with their other, or as they're doing that. And so you have to think about, what is the absolute minimum I need to do in order to get this person to the next step and to start to fill my funnel. And then from there, you can segment your responses by customer type. This might be by page. So if you have a deeper page that has a call to action on it that requires a little bit more information, you might know that that person is a hotter or warmer prospect than someone who's clicked on the About Us form or the Contact Us form. So making sure that you sign those folks up or let them opt in to a message. And you're probably going to know from your database if a person is a VIP, or if they're responding from an event, or if they're responding to a sale, or if they've just never been to the website before. You'll know that through your analytics and through just the data that you already have about any given person. So make sure that you segment those responses and take people to the next step that's appropriate to what they're looking for. And then you, of course, need to measure. Marketing is measuring. If you're not measuring, you're not marketing, because you don't know how to improve. Simply trying something and hoping for the best is no longer a great option for businesses, because there's just too much at stake. So what to do? Well, first, look at click-through rates. If you don't have Google Analytics installed on your website, that's your easiest next hit. So just go to Google Analytics, just Google Analytics, and it'll show you how to install that. Every BizzyWeb client has Google Analytics built into their website, and it's available right from the dashboard in the back end of WordPress. But look at what things are having the most impact. If you do blogging, if you have regular posts on your website, you'll probably start seeing that specific things are having more impact than others. There's better response rates. One page or one post might get 75 clicks and another might get 200. So look at what the 200 post or 200 click article was, and then do more of that. For the one that only got 75 or maybe even nothing, look at what, from a client perspective, might have been missing. And it might just have been the wrong time of day. So with WordPress and with any other good CRM tool or COM, content management tool, you should be able to time your posts. And you can use tools like Constant Contact or even Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools to guide the timing of your posts. So you can do more things depending on your specific clientele. If you have a client base that is mostly corporate and sitting in front of computers all day, then in general, the current wisdom is that between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, is the best time to reach someone. If you're going for later, or if you're going for other markets, for example, trades folks tend to check their phones before they head to work. And so maybe first thing in the morning, right around lunch, or even after work is the best time to reach those folks. So look at those click-through rates, consider timing, content, what's worked and what hasn't worked, and keep doing more of that. You can use advertising to split test or to do A/B testing on content, and that's trying out different headlines or different specials or offers, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. You might have a few different ideas on how to reach your clients for what the specific next step is. And so you can use advertising. This is actually pretty simple inside of Google Ads to send people two different versions of your website. There are tools that will let you do that. And if you're familiar with Tim Ferriss of the 4-Hour Workweek, he actually used split testing and Google Ads to figure out how to name his book. He had a bunch of different names, and he just went through and went with the title that had the best click-through rate to his content, and that's how he named his book. Other indicators to look at for measurement include bounce rates, or the likelihood that someone visits your web page and then leaves without taking any other action. Time on page, which is pretty obvious, it's just how long people are spending on your web page. Or click paths, which is when people go to a specific page, where do they go next? All of that's available inside of Google Analytics or any other analytics tool. And so when you look at that, that's going to tell you more about what your customer's interested in. And you'll probably be surprised at what people are doing once they get to your website or your landing page. So they might go to testimonials more than they actually take the next step. Well, that's important to make sure that you've got a clear call to action on your testimonials page then to get them to the next step after they've been reassured that you're the customer or you're the provider for them. And then finally, adjust as required to meet your goals. Keep going back to what you're actually trying to accomplish and think about what that essential next step is going to be to get to more sales or event attendance or getting people to walk in the door. You know, if you're not seeing a direct result or a response that guides that next step or what you're trying to accomplish, keep messing with the model by changing one thing at a time and measuring. The cool thing about measurement is that it's a really easy way to get people to take that next step and to know what's working and what isn't. Don't freak out if you have low numbers right away, because it takes some time to mess with the model, and over time things do tend to improve. It takes a while for Google's algorithms to catch up on search engine optimization, for example. So if your organic results are low initially, you kind of have to give it time. And with all of our marketing clients, and the general wisdom is, you need about 6 months worth of content and dedicated search engine optimization before your rankings really start to trend up. Of course, you can goose that with advertising anytime you want, but the simple fact remains that it takes time to prove to your customers, to Google, and to any other algorithms that you mean what you say and that the content that you're delivering is worth the ranking. So now let's talk about a few next steps. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty a little bit for optimizing imagery and usability. So hang on, and I do want to take just one quick second. I'm going to switch over. You won't be able to see this, but I'm just making sure we don't have any specific questions on Twitter. Again, use the hashtag BizzyWebinar to find out or to ask us questions or to provide any feedback that you have on today's event. I don't see any new questions on that BizzyWebinar hashtag, so I'm going to keep moving forward. So to optimize for traffic, you need to do a few specific things. First, you need to make sure that your website is as fast as possible. Earlier this year, I did a webinar, a BizzyWebinar on site speed. Some of the highlights of that include you need to make sure you're using a great web host that's optimized for the tools that you build. BizzyWeb, for example, has WordPress optimized host boxes. And depending on your needs, we can give you dedicated servers all the way down to shared servers that are still optimized for speed and reliability. So using a great web host, if you're on GoDaddy, if you're on any shared host, a lot of Bluehost and DreamHost clients tend to be frustrated with the site speed. And then as soon as they move to us from there, they see a dramatic improvement just because we optimize our PHP tables and we optimize all of the databases and all the things that you need, as well as running speed enhancement tools that compress images, that optimize click paths, and that compress code in order to make it as fast as possible. We're living in a mobile world, and not everyone's available or has Wi-Fi available or is even on fast Wi-Fi all the time. If you're on a 3G or even a 4G or LTE network on a phone, the site speed will be a huge data hog and will actually be almost painful. For some of our clients, they've never thought about how their website looks or works on a mobile device because they're on their computer at their office with a T1 internet line or fiber optic, and their site flies. Well, there's a big difference between that massive pipe coming into your office and that itty bitty little straw that people are trying to download all the data for your website on at a mobile rate. So using speed tools, I've got a link here to the Google speed tool. So at developers.google.com/page speed insights, you can also just Google page speed tool. Will help you look at the issues that your website has with downloads, and it'll actually help you to optimize images as well. Another thing that we really love, if you have a WordPress website, we have a development arrangement with WPMU Dev, and their Hummingbird tool linked here. You can also just Google WPMU Hummingbird or even Hummingbird page speed, and you'll find this tool. You can install that on your website. It'll dramatically increase your site's speed by compressing images, optimizing tables and databases, and making sure that everything goes as quickly as possible. The faster your website is, the more you're going to be able to convert your clients into customers. If people get frustrated with having to wait and looking at a loading screen, they're just going to click away. There's also other ways and tools like dynamic loading or what's called lazy loading. So if you have a bunch of images on a page, your website will only download immediately the content that's immediately visible to a client. And then it downloads the rest of it in the background so that you don't have issues with what pages look like or having, dead images. Look at mobile, of course, because mobile responsive is simply a requirement in today's environment. Half, actually a little bit more than half, of the web is browsed on mobile devices now. More and more people are carrying supercomputers in their pockets, and they don't need to open up their desktop computer or their laptop to browse your content. They can see it always and everywhere. Last year, Google made a huge stake in the ground and said, any website that's not mobile responsive or that doesn't proactively reconfigure itself depending on the mobile or the site or the viewport of any given page. So if you have a 4-inch screen, it optimizes for 4-inch screens. And if you have a desktop, it optimizes for that. If you don't have a mobile responsive website, Google is no longer directing traffic or search results to your website if a client is surfing on a mobile device. So for that half of people that are searching on a mobile device, if they search for your keywords, even if you would normally show up, you're simply not going to show up anymore because your website isn't mobile responsive. Now, if you're wondering how to make sure that your website is mobile responsive, you can either load up Google's Webmaster Tools and it'll tell you, or the easiest thing is probably just to open your website on a mobile device. So grab your phone, load it up, and if you have to pinch and zoom to see your website, and if it looks exactly the same but smaller as it does on a computer, your website is not mobile responsive. So make sure that you get that checked and adjusted. We do have mobile responsive packages available for our clients if you'd like to talk about that. But mobile responsive is absolutely a requirement. And simply test your website on all devices. Test it on a tablet, test it on iOS and Android, test it on computers, PCs, Windows, Macs. Make sure that your content looks good on every device in order to ensure optimal results. And then also, of course, optimize for findability. If you can't get found, you're not going to close people. So search engine optimization includes meta titles and descriptions, making sure that your website says what it needs to and that the keywords in the site are optimized. The meta title and meta description is what shows up in Google search results. And then don't overdo keywords, but do make them stand out. So what I mean by that is there's such a thing as keyword stuffing. And if you're a chiropractor, for example, you might think that listing chiropractic as many times as possible on a page is going to guarantee that you'll show up higher in Google because they'll see that there's more options or more times that that specific keyword is listed. That actually works against you. The general metric is that anything over 5% of content on a website, if you have more than 5% of the content on any given web page that is a keyword, that is called keyword stuffing. And then Google actively ranks you down or simply refuses to list you at all if you have too many of a given keyword on your given web page. So make sure that you have them. And then as far as making them stand out, if you have a keyword, consider linking that keyword to somewhere else on your page and making that underlined or bolded, or doing headings or images that relate to your keyword, and make sure that you use alt tags on images. Alt tags are a simple tool that labels images so that Google and your browser knows what those images are. Linking to others, including handy tips. If you have a referral partner that works for you or works with you, linking to them for the keywords that you're ranking on, or using social media. For example, when BizzyWeb creates websites for our clients, we build them to automatically auto-post to all of the social networks. So when you update a new post or when you add a new post to your website automatically publishes that post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and more. All of those count as great links back to your website from trusted sources. If Facebook is linking to your website, that's a high page rank page linking to your website for a keyword that you're trying to get found for. Very simple, very easy once it's set up, and very effective. As far as content, making sure that your content is useful and relevant is simply essential. What you need to do is not overdo the fluff. No one really cares about Mittens the cat or how many years you've been in business. That's important to have on your website somewhere, the trust factors on your website or the personality factors of your content. But for landing pages, you need to get to the basics, share what people are interested in, share the relevant content only, and make sure that it's optimized for that result. Think about what your customers want and offering downloadable resources for white papers, for example. If you're a B2B or business-to-business company, offering helpful tips and resources that get people to the information that they're looking for if they're making a decision about something that you offer is a killer way to kill two birds with one stone. First, it provides content to your customer that reassures them that you're the person or the organization for them. But second, having great downloadable content, if you ask a person for their email and name in advance of getting that content, you now know that that person's interested and you can proactively reach out to them. Social integration is also important. Broadcast everything you can to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, and more, because people expect or people find that content when they're hanging out resources for white papers. For example, if you're a B2B or business-to-business company, offering helpful tips and resources that get people to the information that they're looking for if they're making a decision about something that you offer is a killer way to kill two birds with one stone. First, it provides content to your customer that reassures them that you're the person or the organization for them. But second, having great downloadable content, if you ask a person for their email and name in advance of getting that content, you now know that that person's interested and you can proactively reach out to them. Social integration is also important. Broadcast everything you can to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, and more, because people expect or people find that content when they're hanging out on those networks. So even if your website is absolutely spectacular and brilliant, people aren't going to visit your website every day, but people do visit Facebook every day. And so if you can provide relevant content that's shareable and interesting on Facebook, the likelihood that they'll see it there and then click for more information on your website is much, much higher. Also, don't forget about email. Use your email list to proactively reach out to people and to give them helpful resources. Now, don't overdo it. Don't spam people with too many messages, but around once a month. And, for example, BizzyWeb has a monthly newsletter that we put out that reaches out and offers helpful tips and tricks on social media and digital marketing. And then we have every other week a Busy Events message to folks that have attended our webinars before, and that offers them invitations to upcoming things so that they can keep that on their calendar. So don't overdo it, but make sure that you broadcast things to the right places, because people will find you where they spend their time. And then finally, just using social media can absolutely make your posts work for you. This is a great way to, or a great algorithm to stick to for content on your website. About half of what you do should be interesting and entertaining posts. This is on your website as well as social media. So you want to engage people and connect with them viscerally. Next 30% is to offer helpful information. This is the deeper things, the white papers, the 5 tips that you need to know, the things that prove that you're worth working with in order to take the next step. And then finally, that last 20% is to encourage people to take that next step, promoting your business and giving them the next link. So half engage, 30% inform, and 20% convert. Content curation is about grabbing content from other places. And so if you have things that you found, sharing that content and putting it out is great to do, but you need to make sure that you're representing that content as originally from its original source. So you can check the news, you can read blogs, follow others on social media, set Google alerts, subscribe to email lists of content that's helpful and interesting, ask your customers or employees what's happening. But the key, again, don't forget to give credit to the original author or source. You don't want to grab the entirety of that content and repurpose it as your own. And likewise, you want to make sure that you're always giving credit to the place that you received that from. That works for you in 2 ways. First, it's a link to that helpful content provider, and they might link back to you. But second, it's just good practice. And it lets you grab extra helpful content and increases your search engine optimization, because you're linking to things that are high ranking for the content that you're trying to get found for. You can repurpose and reuse everything that you do elsewhere on the web. So whether it's an Instagram or Facebook, if you've shot pictures of events, you can repurpose that across your website, Facebook, LinkedIn, your email newsletter, and use all of that. People don't see you on all of these things, and they always have a preferred method of communication. The best way to make sure that you hit them at one of those is to publish to as many as you can. And then as far as imagery, you can find great images that'll engage and connect with people at Free Digital Photos, my personal favorite, photopin.com, stockvault.net, or Free Images. You can edit those images. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so the more content you can deliver and have it be visual, the better off you're going to be. You can create word images by using tools like Canva, some Instagram things or whatever, but you can do tips, quotes, promotions, and having content like that that's more visceral and that has a specific and clear message on it can be very helpful. So whether it's promotions and announcements, you can do all of that way. And then finally, make sure that you're taking time for content and ideas. Creating an editorial calendar is going to be very helpful to help you keep growing your business. You need to think about the seasonality of your business, and you need to make sure that you're setting content up so that people are ready. We've now entered the holiday season. And so this week, you should probably be thinking about what kinds of content you're going to be wanting to publish and connect with people on to take advantage of the holiday season. In 3 weeks, we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and then there's, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Give to the Max Tuesday, and Cyber Monday, of course. So all of those things take some time, and you're going to want to give your customers a heads up that these things are coming. So maybe next week you should send an email, and then maybe next Wednesday you should set a Facebook post. And all of that content should drive back to your website to get people excited or engaged, get them to sign up for those special deals and offers, and then you can deliver them to them in the coming weeks to make sure that you're having the best holiday season ever. Here's some resources to get a hold of if you do have additional questions. I mentioned a few other events that we've got, and I was looking through our YouTube channel today, and it turns out we have more than 205 events, or split out across a couple of networks, but we've got 205 recorded videos out on YouTube that are available from BizzyWeb.com/events. So we've got training. If you want more information about Facebook or images or Google Analytics or image optimization or content delivery, all of that is available from our BizzyWebinars. We've got an entire archive available for you. So go to BizzyWeb.com/events to check that out. If you'd like to get some detail and information on how well optimized you already are for the keywords that you're trying to get found for, go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz and request your buzz report. That's a free in-depth marketing analysis to get you to that next step. Here's a quick link to BizzyWebinars, and it's probably just as easy just to go to BizzyWeb.com/events and search, but that's the content that you need in order to keep growing your business and to make your website work for you. If you'd like to stay in touch with BizzyWeb, go ahead and text Bizzy to 22828. That's BIZZY. Make sure that you don't let your autocorrect goof things up, but BIZZY to 22828 will get you subscribed to our monthly newsletter, which provides helpful tips, tricks, and options for increasing your marketing results. And then every other week or so, we offer invites and upcoming details on our educational opportunities. So we'd love to see you there. Again, I'm Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb. Here's how to reach me if you'd like